Hey guys, Ms. Sirota here, and we're going to work on your Topic 1 assessment review. If you remember last year, these particular review pages are very similar to the test itself, so make sure that you check your work against mine and pay attention to the notes that I've written. They may help you on the test, so pay close attention and try and remember these things for your closed note test tomorrow. A couple of things I wrote first is of means multiply. Is means equal to. And here we have complete the sentences to make true statements. 6 is 100 times what? So I wrote that down. 6 equals 100 times what? So what would you have to multiply 100 by to get to 6? It's obviously smaller than 6 because you would be multiplying it by 100 to make it big to become 6. So what is 2 jumps smaller than 6? 2 jumps smaller than 6 is 600ths. All right. The next one says 600ths is 10 times what? So what do you have to, what would you multiply 10 times to get to 600ths? Well, you're moving in the general direction of right. So what times 10 would give you this 600ths, and that would be 6/10, 0.6. Because if you were to multiply 6/10 by 10, you would move it over one space, and then it would become 600ths. And then this is 60 is 1/100th of. Okay, so this is where you have that multiply. 60 is 1/100th of what? So when multiplying by a fraction, your answer is going to be smaller than your multiply by number. So what would you have to multiply 1/100th by to get down to 60? Well, that's 2 jumps bigger than 60. So what is 2 jumps bigger than 60? Well, that's 6,000. And if you multiply 6,000 by a fraction, you're going to get a smaller number, 60. Or, in other words, that's 2 jumps, 200ths. If you were to take these 2 zeros away, you would get 60. All right. If you're not certain how to do this, go back to the reteach in your, go back to the reteach in your book. That is on page, hang on, let me find that handy dandy reteach. The reteach in your book is on page 35 and 36. So if you are not sure how to do these jumps, you can go to that reteach on page 35 and 36 and start working there to refresh your memories. All right. Number 2, a national park has 80,923 and 86/100ths acres of land, which shows this in standard form. Well, if you remember, standard form is basically your numbers as they're written. And means decimal point. So 80,923 and 86/100ths. So I know that's 2 place values. 86 is 2 digits, so it would look like that. So which number over here looks like that? B. B. No, I'm sorry. That's 68. See how easy it is to make a mistake? That says 68. We need 86. It's D as in dog. Don't make that mistake. All right, number 3. Which numbers have a digit in the ones place that is 1/10 the value or smaller value by 1 jump than the digit in the tens place? Select all that apply. In a problem like this, you can only do this problem if you have matching digits in the number. So we're looking at the ones place and the tens place, and I know I cannot compare values in a digit unless the numbers are exactly the same. So here, the 7 and the 7 are exactly the same. That's one of those numbers. 8 and 4, two totally different numbers. 0 and 3, two totally different numbers. 5 and 5, I can compare that. That's the tenths place and the ones place. 2 and 2. You cannot make the comparison of the value of a digit unless the digits are the same. I would take a note of that one. Okay, number 4. Mrs. Martin has $7,000 in her savings account. Alonzo has 1/10 as much money. Anytime you multiply by a fraction, you've got a smaller amount. 1/10 has 1 0, so you would take a 0 to make it smaller. Let's finish reading the problem. Alonzo has 1/10 as much money in his account as Mrs. Martin. How much money does Alonzo have in his account? Well, we know we're getting smaller by 1 0, and the rule of 0 says if you take a 0, you got to take a 0, so that leaves $700 in Alonzo's account. Number 5. Select all the comparisons that are true. So we are comparing fractions. We are looking to see what place value these digits differ in, and then which one has the larger and which one has the smaller number in that place value. So I'm going to look at, we taught it like this, 4.15, and then you would write this one right below it. And you would start looking for the place that differed. So the 4s are the same. We put a check mark here. But these are different. Which one is bigger? This one. So we know that 4.15 is greater than 4.051. That is one of those that is true. I like to do it side by side. I look at the ones. They're the same. I move to the next digit. I've got a 0 and a 4. What's bigger? Well, the 4 is bigger. So this one is the larger number, but they're showing that this is the larger number. That's incorrect. We have the 5. Both of them are 5s. I'm going to move over a digit. I've got a 1 and I've got a 0. Which one's bigger? Well, this 1 is bigger, saying that this is the bigger number. Does that work that way? No, they're saying that that's the smaller number. Incorrect. Same with this one. You can use that box. The box, the number you boxed, is the bigger number. So you can already see that it should be the one eaten by the alligator, not the one at the pointy side. All right, 5s are the same. 1 and a 4. Which one's bigger? The 4 is bigger, and that shows that the 4 is bigger, so this is correct. And then here we have 5. Those are the same. We go to the tenths place. I have a 0 and a 4. The 4 is bigger. That shows that the 4 is bigger. That is another one that is true. Okay, don't forget you're comparing. Again, if you need some brushing up on this particular topic, you may work on the reteach on page 35 and 36. You can ask your teacher to make sure you are on the right track. All right, number 6. Luke. We got Luke. And Luke, he shaded 20 squares on his hundredths grid. This is a hundredths grid. It's got 100 little boxes. Each column here is worth 10. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. If you colored them all in, you'd have 100 colored in boxes. So it says Luke shaded 20 squares on his hundredths grid. So he shaded 2 full columns. Becca, she shaded 30 squares on her hundredths grid. You can see that she went 3 wide. So 10, 20, 30, 30 squares. Whose grid represents the larger decimal? Well, is 0.220 or 2/10 or 3/10 bigger? Which one is bigger? 3/10 is bigger, so Becca has the larger decimal. Second question says, write 2 decimals equivalent to Luke's decimal. Well, Luke's decimal was 0.20 because he had 20 tenths, right? Or 20 hundredths. He had 20 hundredths. that ended in the hundredths place. That's how you can call that 20 hundredths. So you had 20 hundredths. How can you write that with it being equivalent or the same? Well, what if I did 0.2? Is 2/10 the same as 20 hundredths? Why, yes, it is. Because if you add zeros after the last digit in the decimal, they don't matter. It does not change the value. You could add 100 zeros after this and it wouldn't change the value. What if I did 0.2000? Could that be the same value? Absolutely. I'll make it 0.2000. Any number of zeros you add after the last valued digit in a decimal, doesn't matter. You can add hundreds of them. So I wrote that down here. Can add zeros to the end without changing the value. You might want to remember that. All right. Number 7. Which statements, notice this is statements, about the values of 2 and 44 thousandths and 20 and 44 hundredths are true? Select all that apply. So you have 2.044 and you have 20.44. So you can compare. You can see that this one is 10 times bigger than this one because I'm in the tens place and I'm in the ones place here. And you can see that this is 10 times bigger than this because this one goes out to the thousandths place. So let's see if that helps us a little bit. I also wrote, look at which number is smaller. How much is it smaller by? So this is smaller and it's smaller by 1 jump. It is smaller by 1 jump. So it's smaller by 10. And then I said, do the same for the larger number. This is larger by 10, okay? So, 2 and 44 thousandths is 1/10 of, is smaller than by 1, 20 and 44 hundredths. That's true. We know it's smaller by 1 jump. We already talked about that. 2 and 44 thousandths is 1/100th of 20 and 44 hundredths. Well, that would mean we would have to have made 2 jumps. Did we make 2 jumps to get from the tens to the ones? No, we only made 1 jump, so that cannot be true. That's 2 jumps. 20 and 44 hundredths is 10 times 2 and 44 thousandths. Yes, that means it's larger. This means larger by 1. Is this one larger by 1 jump? Why, yes, it is. We've already determined it. 20 and 44 hundredths is 100 times. Well, we already know it's 1 jump, not 2. That would be a 2 jumper. Nope, cannot be our answer. 20 and 44 thousandths is 10 times 20 and 44 hundredths. If that were correct, that would mean that this was the larger number, and we already know that that is not the larger number, so it cannot be correct. All right, let's head to the back. If at any time you need further clarification, pause the video and watch the problem again. Pause it a 3rd time and watch it again. Continue to watch it until it clicks in your brain what I'm saying. All right, on to number 8. Number 8 says, the weight of Darren's phone is 3 and 405 thousandths ounces. What is 3 and 405 thousandths written in expanded form? Well, we know that this is going to be multiplied by 1 because it's in the ones place. And we know that this will be multiplied by 1/1000th because it's in the thousandth place. So let's see. This one is 3 times 1. So this one's a maybe. And this is a 5 times 1,000. That's a maybe. This is a 3 times 10. No way, because that's in the ones place. That's not it. 3 times 10, we already know. That would be 30. We don't have 30 here, so that's not it. Then we have 3 times 1 and 5 times, so this is another maybe. So we're going to look at A and D. What I did was I eliminated our answer choices. I put an M over here for maybe and an X for definitely not. So now I've narrowed it down to 2 options. 3 times 1 is just 3, plus 4 times a tenth. So 4 times a tenth is 4 tenths. And then 5 times 1,000th. Wait a minute, where's the hundredths? Well, considering it's a 0 in the hundredths place, you did not have to put that here. So I know that that's a 0 and a 5 here because that's in the 3rd place. So this one looks exactly like this. It's probably A, but let's just go and work out the bottom one and see. This one is 3 and 4 times 100th. So that would put that 4 in this place, the 5 in this place, and the blank in this place. Does this number look like this number? No, it does not. So it has to be A. All right, number 9. I hand wrote compares. It's another one of those comparisons. Elaine has a piece of wire that is 2 1600ths meters long. Dikembe has a piece of wire that is 2 61,000ths meters long. Whose piece is larger? Well, 2 1600ths is bigger than 2 61,000ths because it ends in the hundredths place. And if you remember, hundredths is bigger than thousandths, tenths is bigger than hundredths, ones is bigger than tenths. So it is Elaine's piece is longer. And I know this because, again, 2 1600ths is bigger than 2 61,000ths. You know how else I know? Right here. When I compare. Look at this. The 2's are the same. The 1 is bigger than 0. Therefore, it's boxed. The boxed number is bigger. Done. Okay? Comparisons. Box the larger number at the place where the numbers begin to differ. Okay, number 10. In a basketball tournament, Dimitri averaged 12 375,000ths rebounds per game. What is 12 375,000ths written in expanded form? How is it written with number names? Okay, so they want us to write word form and expanded form. Expanded form is this lovely. Word form is writing it in words, which I just said the words. So if you know how to say it, you know how to write it. First thing in expanded form, we start in the tens column. So that would be 1. Well, what did they do? 10 plus 2 plus 3. That's weird. We would do 1 times 10 plus 2 times 1 plus 3 times 1/10, because now we're in the tenths, plus 7 times 1/100th, because that's the hundredths place, plus 5 times 1/1000, because that's in the thousandths place. So that's your expanded form. That's how we would write that bad boy in expanded form. Now, how would we write it in word form? Exactly the way we say it. 12 and 375 thousandths, because you end it in the last place value with a digit. So 12 and, for that decimal, 300. So you say the whole digit, but you end it with the place value. 375, and now you put that place value, thousandths. Okay, so it is written the same way you say it, and you have to know what place value you're in to do the expanded form. We're almost finished. Number 11. I wrote getting larger by 10 each jump. So let's take a look at why I wrote that. The numbers below follow a pattern. 6 thousandths, 6 hundredths, 6 tenths, 6. We're getting bigger. We're going from smaller to larger, one jump at a time. So if I multiply this by 10, I get this, and so on and so forth. So if I multiply 6 by 10, what do I get? 60. If I multiply 60 by 10, what do I get? 600. So what are the next two numbers in the pattern? 60 and 600. All right. What is the relationship between the terms in the pattern? Each term is 10 times larger than the last. They are getting bigger. Sorry for my son, if you can hear him. Okay, so they are getting larger. Last but not least, and again, you need to pause at any time to try and comprehend what I'm saying. You have the freedom to do that. Pause at any time and listen to the problem again. Listen to me talk through it. You have a beautiful freedom being an e-student, an e-learning student. You can stop your teacher, rewind what they say, and listen as many times as you need to. Last but not least, what is this number? Oh, did I fold something? Yes, I did. My bad. Hold on. Let's try that again. Number 12. Kendra and her horse completed the barrel racing course in 15.839 seconds, or 15 and 839 thousandths seconds. What is this number rounded to the nearest tenth? Explain how you decided. I'm going to explain with my mouth and write the answer down here. I'm not going to write the explanation. First thing I had to do was locate which digit is in the tenths place. And as you can see, I've already done that, but I'm going to do that in color. Well, I know the first number to the right of the decimal is the tenths place. So 8 is in the tenths place. And now I have to round it. This is round to the nearest tenth. So I know the number right next to it, this 3, is going to tell my tenth what to do. I also know that every digit in front of the rounded number stays the same. That all stays the same. And now 3 tells the 8 what to do. Well, 5 or more, let it soar. 4 or less, let it rest. Where does 3 lie? Well, 3 is in the 4 or less, let it rest, because 3 is less than 4. Let it rest means keep the number the same. 15.8 seconds. All right, guys, you have a test coming up. It is a non-open book test, which means you need to put all of these materials away, put your notebook away, put your math book away, and take your test in Savas. Good luck.